All right, 877-3DP Show, email address, dp@danpatrick.com, Twitter handle at DP Show. I mentioned this to start the show, that John Buccigross, who I was a teammate of at the mothership, calling for Don Cherry and Barry Melrose to be elected to the Hockey Hall of Fame. When we found out that Barry was diagnosed with Parkinson's, I said that on the show, that let's waive whatever you need to waive, put him in while he could still be able to go and enjoy the moment with his family, have a speech there. I didn't realize Don Cherry was not in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and he was certainly hockey night in Canada. But Johnny Buccigross, my hockey guy, joining us now. Butch, good to talk to you. Thank you for saying what you said. Obviously, it has more weight when you say it in the hockey community, but what would be the holdup to put both of these men in the Hockey Hall of Fame?
Well, just adding a sentence to the criteria, Dan. Right now, the criteria, there's a category for sports writers and for play-by-play guys, and that's it. And that was my point. You can change this with 11 words or less. Play-by-play or analyst, whatever word you want to use. And obviously, Don Cherry and Barry Melrose for 30 years were the biggest names in their countries in terms of broadcasters. Don Cherry was certainly John Madden. He was in that kind of a level. And Barry, I get emails all the time. I grew up with the game in America with Barry Melrose. And both of them went from junior hockey to professional hockey to coaching to broadcasting, literally gave their life to the game and to the sport. And it seems just an easy sentence to get people like that, or even great hosts like a Ron McLean from Hockey Night in Canada, and all the ones they have up there. And eventually, as the careers of some of these American analysts and broadcasters, Eddie Olczyk and Ray Ferraro, there's no place for them, and it seems like an easy ad.
Yeah, I just think contributions to the game. Other sports have that. Pro football has contributions to the game. And maybe you could put it under that umbrella, but I agree. How is Barry doing?
You don't get better from Parkinson's, Dan. Thankfully, some people are cured of cancer, but you don't get cured of ALS or Parkinson's or dementia. So he's living in Oxford, Ohio. That's where he met his wife, Cindy, when he turned pro and played for the Cincinnati Stingers. She was a cheerleader on the team. She grew up in Oxford, rural Oxford, where Miami University is located. And they decided to move there from Florida to there where they had been living to get some support. Her family is still there. It's difficult. But Barry's watching the games. I texted Cindy Melrose yesterday and said, "Can you get me a Barry prediction for the finals?" And of course, in true Barry fashion, every year it was somebody in 6. He never said 5, never said 7. So Barry's got the Oilers in 6, Dan.
What do you have?
I have the Oilers in 7. I'm sure they're thinking, we fell to this team 3-0 last year and almost won 4 games in a row. We're better this year. We have home ice this year. We're going to get off to a better start this year. We're going to treat game 1 tonight like game 7, because you want to play ahead. You don't want to be down 0-1 to Pedro Martinez. If you have a chance, you want to be up 1-0. And they're the underdog by a smidge, but they have the greatest player of their generation. They have another great Hall of Famer to be in Leon Draisaitl. They have a little more depth. The Zach Hyman injury hurts, but overall, they're so good on home ice. They have the best player. And as we know, Dan, when their backs are kind of up against a cliff, up against an ocean, and an army never fights harder than when their back's up against a cliff or an ocean. This team is going to get in the cap hell fast. They have no young players coming. It's almost a do or die year. Draisaitl gets a $5 million raise. Bouchard gets a $5 million raise next year. McDavid's going to need about an $8 million raise after next year. He's a UFA. This will be the summer of his extension. So they sense that, I think, and that's why, even though Florida is the best complete team, and maybe they're constructed as the perfect team, and maybe they're going to win, but I just don't think they don't quite have that desperation that Edmonton has. You can't manufacture that.
But also, you're carrying the country too. I mean, it's been a long, long time, and I don't think we can overstate the pressure that goes with carrying. Not everybody's rooting for Edmonton, I'm sure, as in other provinces, but still,
right.
You want Canada to bring home the cup.
The last time they won it, Barry Melrose was the other coach, to bring it back to Barry, 1993. So you're right. That's a good point. It's been 32 years. And you're right. It's not quite Toronto or Montreal doing it because obviously the big metropolitan areas that they're from, and you maybe feel it more like the Cubs, Red Sox ending their droughts. But still, I think Canada would come together. McDavid scored the overtime winner in the Four Nations. Otherwise, it would have been an amazing year for USA Hockey. World Junior just won the World Championship for the first time. It really, so that was a big moment for McDavid to win that. That was his first best on best. So he hasn't won a trophy, a team trophy before that. So since he was like 16, the guy, it's just going back to junior for the Erie Otters. So it's time for him to win. You look at every great iconic NHL player, Dan. I looked at the top 20 scores last night. Only 3 don't have a cup. Marcel Dion, great player. These guys are all great players, but not quite that iconic player. Joe Thornton, Adam Oates. All the others, they got their cup. There's no Ernie Banks in the NHL. There's no Dan Marino. They get it. But he's 28, about to turn 29, and it's only going to get harder, like I said, in Edmonton. So there is a bit of a fun sports story desperation to it for me.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, that in the NBA and other sports, certainly quarterbacks, when are you going to win your title? You get to a certain point, like Luka Doncic, he's there. Joker was there, he won a title. Giannis was there, he won a title. Embiid got an MVP, he's not going to win a title. Jason Tatum won a title. Once you win the title, then we move on to the next guy. It's like Colin Montgomery, the best player to never win a major. We keep waiting for these guys. And then I wondered everybody says Connor McDavid's best player in the world. Well, the best players in the world win championships.
Exactly. And he might go down as the greatest talent ever. And so that, again, it just doesn't happen in the sport. There were 6 teams forever. Then there were 12. Then there were 16. So people got around. They got their championship. But for him to be the greatest player in his sport, the most talented, that would be something. So it's something to keep an eye on.
John Buccigross, ESPN hockey play-by-play and host, Sports Center anchor. You've been there since, 96?
Yeah, October 28th, 1996. We did one Sports Center together. I know you don't remember it, but I do. It was a 6 o'clock Sports Center. I was probably nervous doing 3 Sports Centers in my life. My first, which was with Stuart Scott, Grammy night, 1997. I'll never forget it. So my love of music is kind of cool. It fell on that date. And I did a 6 o'clock with you. And I can't even think of the third time I was nervous, but that was a big deal to me.
I've told this story. You were there playing basketball with us.
Yes.
When we had these Sports Center anchors, ESPN News anchors, and we're all playing in a place called Canton, Connecticut, the YMCA. And these guys were trying to get me to go out forever and play. And I said, nope. I didn't, if you let me run up and down and sweat a little bit, I don't want somebody picking me up full court.
Mm-mm.
So what happens?
Yep.
Stuart Scott picks me up full court to start the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't go well after that because then
it got worse.
It did. It got really.
I'll remember this like it was yesterday. I'm like 31 years old. I just got there. We played our pickup. I had Steve Berthume. I was smart. I knew who to guard. I'm going to check Berthume. Say hello to my little friend. And so we clear the court, and then you and Stuart proceed to play one-on-one. It is the most violent one-on-one situation I've ever seen on a basketball court.
It was
Stuart wanted it more than you, Dan.
He did.
Obviously.
He was bodying me, forearm, and then I finally I talked to Jason Jackson about this occasionally. He laughs because he said, people don't believe me when I tell that story. And I said to Stuart, I looked him right in the eye, and I said, where do you want me to bleep and score on you? I'm dribbling with my left hand, and I was God, this is the last thing I wanted to do.
Exactly.
Is be competitive with all of the other co-anchors there. And
turn an ankle, then you can't golf. That was my reason why I retired. I don't want to turn an ankle and not be able to golf.
Well, Stuart undercut me.
Yes.
And I ended up going to the emergency room for a chipped vertebrae. I still had to do Sports Center that night.
Yes, always.
And Booyah never apologized. Never. It was a flagrant 2.
I can't believe how competitive we were, man. That's like a different person. I'm just not that person anymore.
It was sad. It was
It
sad.
was.
I was
It
like,
was.
what am I doing? I'm better than this.
What are
I'm
we doing?
I'm going against Chuck Garfien. I mean, what am I doing? Like, I'm better than this, right? I'm better than this.
Yeah, take Dave Revson to his left. He can't go left.
I'm going to lock up Revson. I am. Rever. Great to talk to you, John. I hope you're doing well. Hope we have a
I
great
am.
series.
Shout out Marengo, my buddy Goody watching, high school basketball teammate. Loves Dan Patrick.
Thank you, bud.
See you.
John Buccigross, ESPN hockey play-by-play. And by the way, good shooter, really good golfer. Can't play any defense. He might have been the Karl Anthony Towns out there.